Now that we know the Iranian regime is arming the Iraqi Kurds in their fight against ISIS, we wanted to do a little deeper dive into this unusual situation. To that end, I'm joined now by prominent Iranian-American author, Dr. Marc Benhuri, author of the book Price for Freedom. Doctor, I got to ask, starting off, first, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us on this Labor Day. Let me ask you right off, what do you make of this? This is quite an unusual development for Iran to be helping the Kurds, is it not?
As you know, Iran have a very large Kurdish population, and that section of Iran that they are Kurds, they are not really that friendly with the regime in Tehran. But the Iranian, they are afraid that if ISIS succeed in Iraq, it would cause the problem for them, and soon they find themselves they are going to fight inside Iran with them. But at the same time, for Iran, it's very important to make sure that the Shiite Iraqis, they are safe and they are in control of Iraq, because that way they give them a gateway towards Syria and then to Mediterranean Sea, and that's how they supplying arms to Hezbollah and Hamas and all these terrorist groups.
Well, I want to get to the arms supplying, particularly to Hamas, but before we do, I find it just shockingly odd. I never would have foreseen that we would find ourselves on the same side as Iran, as we apparently are with Syria now, in a battle against an organization like ISIS. Do you see this as having any potential benefits as we try and come out of the other side of this, now that we have something we can agree on?
Well, I don't think so, because the Iranian regime is an absolute totalitarian regime, and many Iranians refer to them as Islamist terrorist occupier of Iran.
Right.
And the only reason that they are helping the Kurds is to help the Shiite in Iraq, not just they want to be close to us.
Right.
And I believe their rhetoric toward the United States is not going to cease, and it is getting worse rather than getting better.
So do you see any risks that attach to this? I mean, we're arming the Kurds, the United States is now. Iran's going to be arming the Kurds. Do you see potential risk coming from each other, maybe sharing more information than they normally would through this one situation? It seems clear that everybody's looking to the Kurds to take the front line when it comes to battling on the ground. We may supply, air power, but we're all looking at the Kurds to do this. Can this hurt in the final analysis?
In a final analysis, I believe that our aim should be to help the Kurds to achieve autonomy, because this group really deserve autonomy of their own. Part of them are in Syria, part of it is in Iraq, part of it is in Turkey, part of it is in Iran. But they are really right now, they are going to have autonomy in Iraq, I believe. I think they would separate from.
Do you think that's really inevitable at this point? Something, by the way, that the Vice President recommended right from the outset, Joe Biden, was that we divide, or not we, but Iraq be divided into three distinct areas to satisfy the needs of these three different entities there. Was this always in the cards right from the start that the Kurds would end up with their own?
It is possible, but I don't think that we had a foresight for this at all. The problem with this administration is that they really do not have a real cohesive foreign policy. There is no leadership. There is no vision of future. Right now, the whole Middle East formula has changed. Before President Carter make a mistake and overthrow the Shah of Iran and install Khomeini in power, the Middle East was very quiet, because Henry Kissinger, in his wisdom, he made a triangle of stability in Middle East between Anwar Sadat of Egypt, Menachem Begin of Israel, and Shah of Iran. But here, Carter changed the formula. When Khomeini came to power, immediately it started Hezbollah, Hamas, Party of God in Egypt, which killed Anwar Sadat. The head of Party of God, Dr. al-Zawahiri, now is the head of Al-Qaeda. So the whole chemistry of Middle East, it changed. I don't believe...
And you trace it back to that one big mistake of
Right.
deposing the Shah.
I believe that was the biggest foreign policy mistake of the late 20th century we made.
How do you fix that?
The only way is that we have to help the Iranian to overthrow this regime. One of the unfortunate things that happened, that the president started negotiating with the terrorists, the Iranian regime. The same group that he's talking to right now, they are the same one that they took over American embassy and kept our diplomat hostage for 444
Back in the
days.
Carter era.
Exactly. Rouhani
now-
was the
they're now
same.
running
Most
the
of the
country.
people, Zarif, all of these things, they were at that time there.
But let me go back to something you said. You said that it's going to require the people of Iran stepping up and overturning this government. And yet, we've never really seen that happen. They haven't
But
shown
it
that
was
willingness.
happening, and Obama made a vital mistake by negotiating with them. If Obama would have continued the sanction and tightened it more, Iranian clergy, they were bankrupt. They were going bankrupt. They didn't have a payroll.
But we haven't changed that.
They didn't pay their employee, government employee, for 4 months. Here we come just for them to sit at a table. The terrorist people sit at a table and talk to us. We give them a $22 billion.
But we
that
haven't-
was the rope that
I
saved
understand,
them.
but we haven't changed the sanctions are still there. We're talking nuclear stuff with them today, but the sanctions are still imposed.
But the Senate passed much tougher sanction. That's what would have crippled them
think that would have
further.
done it?
Absolutely. And if they did not get this 50, 60 billion that they got so far, just sitting on a table and lying to us left and right regarding the nuclear plan, you know, they would have collapsed by now.
All right, so let's say that these conversations we're having come to nothing, which is probably a pretty good bet, you'd agree.
Absolutely.
Right? So when they do come to nothing, the logical thing for the United States to do would be to, as you just suggested, tighten those sanctions. We won't have gotten what we wanted at the bargaining table. We tighten sanctions. How long until we can really expect to see the Iranian people say no more of this and stand up against them?
Number one, we should not have extended the time from July 29. Now November is coming out, and he purposely made the plan after the election, you know, to have the meeting with Iranian. These Ayatollahs, they are really expert on how to lie, deceive, and cheat, and delay. They come back and they bring us and they give us some olive leaves, and we think, yes, we are so close to it, they get another extension. They're gonna do this till they have an atomic bomb. And they're not that far from it.
How do you think our intelligence capabilities are when it comes to Iran? Do we know, in your opinion, how close they are to having that bomb?
Well, according to people that I know inside Iran, and according to the people that they are in intelligence community, I believe they are less than a year away.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
And the position of the United States government much longer than that, yes?
Correct. They said between 1 to 3 years, but I think 1 year is
1 year is more likely.
Especially with the new centrifuge that they got, right? They just put online series of the new, way advanced centrifuge to make purity faster.
Right.
They keep saying that they want this for just peaceful purposes. The country have so much gas and oil that they don't need nuclear power plant.
Right.
You know, they, I mean, they have.
It's not a very good excuse, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're
It
not
is-
somebody who
this-
needs it.
I mean, we should be stupid to agree with.
Well, you don't imagine that we actually believe them when they say that, do you?
I don't know who does, who doesn't, but there are some dumb people in the State Department that they might.
Dr. Benhuri, you're an interesting guy. I'd like to do this again with you sometime. Enjoyed
With
talking
pleasure.
with you.
I thank you.
What do we got coming up here? Let me just say goodbye to everybody. I guess that's it for me today. Hope to be back here once again. In the meantime, make sure you're here on Monday when Steve Malzberg will be back in this chair, and I hope to see you from the other side of the desk at that point.
Can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does.